Welcome to Getting Our Hearts Right. At the end of our lesson yesterday, we learned that the solution to bias goes beyond knowledge and skills. It requires that we get our hearts right. There are 3 keys to doing this, and we're going to explore the first key today. Humility opens our hearts. Some people think of humility as a passivity or a lack of self-respect, but healthy humility is neither of these. Humility is the recognition that while our needs matter, so do the needs of other people. Humility is the willingness to admit that we do not have a complete understanding of truth. It is being open to other people's opinions. Humility is also a willingness to admit when we make mistakes. It allows us to continue learning and growing. Humility is the foundation of healthy relationships. Those who are humble are ready to learn from other people and experiences. How can you activate humility in your life and relationships? I want to share another story from Stephen Covey. He was on a subway. It was Sunday morning in New York City. It was quiet and there were few riders. A man gets on with young children who are loud and disruptive. His irritation and anger grow towards the father who does nothing to control his kids. He approaches the father and tells him how disruptive his kids are being. The father apologizes and said, "I'm sorry. We just came from the hospital where their mother passed away. I guess we don't know quite how to handle it." Instantly, Covey's irritation disappears, and he finds himself asking how he might be of help to the father and his children. The father's story touched Covey and humbled him. It opened his heart. And how many times can we think of a similar situation? Sometimes being knocked down by life helps us understand other people's pain. We may think that someone with a particular health problem is a whiner until we experience the same problem ourselves. Then we begin to understand in a different way what they were going through. How do you react when someone attacks you? Our usual response is, "Look who's talking, the village idiot," and on and on. A humble response would be, "I'm sure you know things that I could learn from." Be thinking about a conflict in your life and how this applies. If you're following along in the Getting Our Hearts Right handout, look on page 5 and write that conflict in the top box. You can pause the video if needed to take your time to write your thoughts. When it comes to activating humility, science says there's a 2-part answer. First, consider your biases. Study the list of biases if you completed those in our first lesson, or think of some now. Be humbled by the reality of our limited vision. In the reflection box at the bottom of page 5, write down some of your thoughts. We often think of irritation merely as a bother, but it's actually an invitation to new kinds of thinking and feeling. A story from Carol Lynn Pearson illustrates the power of humility. I can remember many occasions when my perception was crumbled and a glimpse inside has wiped away judgment. During my college years, I looked at a fellow student, who we will call Roy, in amazement. Where did he get such a gigantic ego? His need to be recognized and praised was never ending. Every conversation he had with anyone always centered on his recent triumphs and projects he was now involved in, and he was sure of his fame. He was underappreciated and let everyone know it. It was so bad his name actually became a joke. We had him pegged as an obnoxious egomaniac who blew his own horn from morning until night. Until one day, I learned that one of my friends knew his family. She began to tell me some things. Roy's father is an alcoholic. Did you know that? I answered, no, I didn't. Oh, yes, he made their life just miserable. He was a crazy man. Once, when Roy was about 5, he walked into the kitchen and saw his father attempting to kill his mother. It was a terrible scene, and Roy was there to watch it all. The tremor was instant. All my perceptions, all my judgments shattered, and I saw past the facade into reality. I saw past the obnoxious adult to the traumatized little boy. All I wanted to do was make him feel better. I never looked at Roy the same again. I knew his secret, one of his secrets, and I understood. We must always consider our biases. There are so many things that we don't know about other people. When you consider the weaknesses in your position, you are also on the road to activating humility. In their book, Mistakes Were Made, But Not by Me, when confidence and convictions are unleavened by humility, by an acceptance of fallibility, people can easily cross the line from healthy self-assurance to arrogance. A good place to look for wisdom, therefore, is where you least expect to find it, in the minds of your opponents. You already know the ideas common to your own side. If you can take off the blinders of the myth of bad intent, you might see some good ideas for the first time. We always need to be willing to consider the weaknesses in our own positions in each of the following areas: politics, religion, work, family life. It might help you see things the way you've never seen them before. Can you think of a time when you were humble enough to see the weakness in your own position or thinking? Did it change you in some way? On page 6, write your thought in the reflection box. We'll end our lesson there, allowing you time to think about humility more, and finish your workbook. Tomorrow, we'll start with the second key, which is compassion. Compassion is what connects our hearts.